So here we look at using the cumulative distribution function. So here when we're talking about binom CDF, right, CDF stands for cumulative distribution function. And so that means that it's going to be adding up a bunch of probabilities between some particular values. So actually what we're doing when we're using binom CDF here is it's computing all the values that are less than or equal to some number. So for instance here, if I'm looking at something that involves the words no more than, at most, or less than or equal to, right? So those are all going to be say if I have some number here, right, whatever that number is, all right, let's call it B. So actually let me label that with a letter B. And then what we would do is calculate the probability of B and then all the other probabilities of all the numbers that are below B. Okay, so here the probability that x is less than or equal to that particular value of B, right, would be the binom CDF of N, P, and B would be what we insert there. Okay, now on the other hand, so this is if we see it involving the less than or equal to symbol. On the other hand, if we see it involving the strictly less than symbol, then we're not including B, but only the values of B that are only the values that are below B. So it actually start at B minus 1 and go down from there. So if you see it with a strictly less than symbol, in other words, the probability that x is strictly less than B, well, then you're going to use B minus 1 in our binom PDF formula. Sorry, binom CDF formula. Okay, so we'll see an example of that in a moment, but let's look at the other case where we see, say, at least, no less than, or greater than, or equal to. So those would all involve the greater than, the greater than or equal to formula. Okay, so if B is this one here, it includes all the values that are bigger than B. So the way that we would do this, though, is we would want to use the complement. So the probability that x is greater than or equal to B, well, in our formula for the binom CDF, it only takes into account the probability that x is less than or equal to some number. So if I want to compute the probability that x is greater than or equal to some number, we're going to use the complement. So this would be the complement of 1 minus the probability that x is less than B, which then I can use the formula here. So this would be what I use for this. And similarly, if, for instance here, if I see more than or greater than, right there, I'm thinking here this will be more the greater than, strictly greater than symbol. Strictly greater than. And so B would be here, and then this would be everything bigger than B. But one useful way to think of this is, right, the complement of the probability that x is less than or equal to b. And there we just have to use the binom CDF of the other case. So here we can actually again refer back to this formula here. Right, if I want to use that here in this part of the in the case when we're doing greater than. Okay, so in the next example we'll look at how we use these formulas to do a cumulative distribution function.